Get me that signal. We need more power.
Hey, what's up? I am Count Murlock, but you can just call me Murray. I saw a movie recently, and it got me thinking that I'd like someone to interview me. Sure, I'm not the prettiest vampire out there, but I'm a Nosferatu, the scariest of vampires. I got that going for me. Boo! Don't be afraid. I saw this Voice of E channel on YouTube, and decided that the best way to tell my story is through a game. Mr. Miller has kindly volunteered to tell you all about it. Granted, I tried other reviewers, but their tastes differed from mine. Luckily, the so-called Voice of E was unable to resist my charms. Ah, here he is now.
Master, I have set up the game. It is ready to go.
Excellent. Perhaps I can find you a few flies for a reward.
No, Master. You promised me some nice, juicy spiders.
You dare question me? I'll have you eating flies from now until doomsday. Now go, before I do something you might regret. And now it is time to see the game. So please, sit back and relax while you learn about Dark Gothic.
Here we are, all set up for a game of Dark Gothic. First, you start with your character cards, and here is a few of those. And these will tell you what your starting deck is going to consist of. You have Combat 4, Cunning 4, Spirit 3, and Honor 1. So we have basically these decks. Combat, Cunning, Spirit, and Honor is over there. And you build your starting deck by picking that number of cards. So if it says Combat 4, I take 4 combat cards. And then this is my starting deck, and I just shuffle that all up, and all the players would be doing this. Now also on your character sheet, it tells you what your special ability is. For example, Adriana of Zartha has enhanced senses. She may discard up to 2 cards from her hand to gain 1 wild card each toward defeating a minion or a villain. So what the wild card symbol means is each of these cards has a value of red, green, or blue, and a certain amount. There's also colorless, which can count towards anything. It could be red, green, or blue, as long as you use all of them for the same color. Out here on the board, we have this huge deck of cards, which is our main deck, and there are 6 slots here that you start by flipping all of those up. And this is your line that you'll be able to buy stuff from. And you also have a couple of other cards that you can buy from. And they are over here. Each one allows you to get 2 of a certain color. So that's 2 green. Then there's 2 red and 2 blue. And you can purchase those for a cost of 3 of any color, as long as they're all the same color. Why would you want to purchase these that you already have starting cards? Well, as you can see, the starting cards, this is how much they're worth to you in the game. That is worth 1, whereas these training cards are worth 2. And down here in the corner are victory points. And you see all your starting cards are worth 0 victory points. At least these are worth 1 each. And you may find yourself getting a bunch of those to start. But if you look at these other cards now here on the line, this is worth 1 of any color, and it's also worth 2 victory points. The Spectre. She's a minion. Over here we have an ally card worth 2 red. Here's the cost up here. It would cost you 2 green in order to buy this card. It'll be worth 2 red every time it comes up in your deck, and it's worth 1 victory point. So on your turn, you would take the... Oh, I forgot to mention the villains. There are villains in this game, and your object is to defeat all 3 villains. There's a level 1 villain, a level 2 villain, and a level 3 villain, as you can see up here. I believe there's 9 or 12 in all, and of course they get harder to beat as you go up in level. This one here will cost you 5 green and 3 blue in order to defeat. It also has this effect. All location cards cost 2 more colorless amounts to acquire. So if a location card pops up here, it would cost you 2 more, I don't want to call it mana, but 2 more resources. That's it, resources in order to acquire it. And let's see, fight. When you fight this guy, and if you beat him, you may destroy up to 3 cards that you have played this turn. Destroying cards in this game is important because you're going to find out that your starting deck, you're going to want to get rid of a lot of these as soon as you can and replace them with higher value cards so they're not bloating up your deck. Now to start the game, you would take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards, flip them over, see what you got. You got 1, 2... Alright, let's see what we got. 2 green, 3 red, and 1 colorless that says draw a card. So I can play the draw a card first and not have to say what color that is yet until I need to. So I get to draw another card. So now I have another green. So I have 1, 2, 3 green, 1, 2, 3 red. How convenient. I can now buy... I'll spend these 3 to pick up one of these training cards, and that goes into my discard pile. And I'll spend these 3 to pick up another training card. Now as you can see, I know I spent red, but I can spend any color because it's showing any color there, the wild card. So even though I'm picking up a card that gives me blue, that's okay because I'm spending all 3 of the same color. I spent 3 red. You'll be playing through the game. Sometimes you'll want to get rid of cards, and this is a handy card out here. It stays on the board all the time. If you spend 1 of each color, you get to basically destroy a card you've played during your turn, or a card in the center line. If you got something that you just want to get rid of, it'll let you destroy it. So you just play a combination of 1 of each color, and pooh, you get to destroy 1 of your cards, which is kind of nice. Every once in a while in the game, for example, if a card comes out with a mystery listed on it, this happens right away when you play the card. Destroy any cards adjacent to the old maid in the center line. So I would destroy these 2 cards, boop, they're destroyed, and flip up 2 new ones. Every time you buy or get rid of a card on the center line, you simply replace it with another card. Some of the cards have a fight symbol on them. That means if you defeat them or buy that card, that fight thing happens. Could be good, could be bad, it just depends. Sometimes you'll be forced to draw a dark secret card. If this card is in your hand during your turn, it must be played before any other cards. So what you're going to do is if you're forced to draw a dark secret, it goes into your discard pile. The next time it comes up in your hand, you destroy the card and draw a shocking discovery card. And there's a little deck of shocking discovery cards. And those can be good, bad, well, actually they're shocking. For example, this one, all heroes must discard from play any cards they have that are listed as remains in play. So if you have any cards that stay out all the time, they say remains in play, suddenly you have to destroy them. Everybody. Not good. So you want to avoid shocking discoveries because they're so shocking. However, if you're stuck with one of these cards in your hand at the end of the game, or in your deck at the end of the game, you'll notice it's worth -3 victory points. So Dark Secrets, in general, bad. So everybody's going to play through buying cards, collecting, getting their deck ready. You're kind of going to want to gear it towards defeating that first big bad. So you may want to start piling up on the green and blue resources so that you can eventually get past that first big bad. And when you beat him down here in his corner, he is worth victory points as well. So he goes under your little hero card, and then you go on to hero 2. For example, the Greystone Gargoyle, which costs 10 of any 2 colors to beat. Could be any 2 colors, but as long as they're all the same. So 5 of the same, 5 of the same. Global, anytime a hero rolls a skull on the Omen die, they must acquire a Dark Secret. So that's one way you could get a Dark Secret. What's the Omen die, you ask? Why, here's the Omen die. You'll be required to roll this from time to time for various effects. It basically goes up to 4, and then there's 2 skull symbols. Usually skulls are bad, just FYI. So that's another way of generating some random stuff that happens in the game. That's basically all there is to the game. Once you get through the third bad guy, you beat him, everybody tallies up their victory points, and whoever has the most wins the game. During some of the games, you'll be also building up this shadow deck. Certain cards get put into the shadow deck next to the villains. If at any point there's ever 10 cards in the shadow deck, then the villains win. The game is over. But to tell you the truth, that hasn't happened to me yet. So it doesn't happen very often. And that is how you play Dark Gothic. Here's the rulebook, by the way.
Dark Gothic is a deck-building game of supernatural horror. In this game, each player gets a different combination of starting deck cards, which is a nice touch. You'll most likely find yourself attempting to get rid of these cards as fast as you can, since they have no victory point value and can easily be replaced with the training cards that have double the resources and are worth 1 victory point each. Luckily, there are plenty of ways to destroy cards if you wish. The one you'll use the most is the Hungry Dead card, available to everyone throughout the game for 1 resource of each color. As the monsters get tougher, you'll start gearing your deck toward defeating the new big bad. But don't think that you can need one of these bad guys tucked under your card in order to win the game. If you concentrate on earning victory points from the cards on the line, you have every chance of winning the game that way as well. The game is easier to set up than many other deck builder games, mainly because the greatest stack of cards is the main deck, with only a few smaller decks that need to be set up. There are no oversized divider cards though, and those would have been nice. The artwork on the cards is the same style that Flying Frog uses in all their games, the ones with the thematic photos of characters in costume. The villain cards have original artwork, which are these cool sketches that look like they were either from Leonardo da Vinci's personal collection or the pictures of the Vesson in the Grimm Family Monster Manual. Big thumbs up for these sketches. Supposedly everyone can lose when the shadow pile contains 10 cards, but that hasn't happened to us yet. We've gone entire games without getting a single card in the shadow deck, so it isn't a looming doom over you. It's a fairly simple game to pick up. We would sometimes forget to apply the various global effects that the villains had, so be careful of that. It's an entertaining game. If you like deck builders and you're a fan of the horror genre, this is fairly light and fun. Be wary of the analysis paralysis factor that creeps into most deck builders, and suggests to the other players that they spend some time plotting their moves when it isn't their turn. If there was one thing that I would like to see, it would be that instead of the huge main deck, you cut that in half and instead add a thematic deck of cards for each villain. Maybe a dozen or so cards that can be mixed into the main deck, with their own minions, gear, and events applicable to that particular villain. Or a separate mini deck that you can draw from by getting a specific combo listed on the villain card. I think that would add to the thematic feel of the game. It seems a bit of a free-for-all now, but if you needed a silver bullet in order to defeat the werewolf or a stake to defeat the vampire, it would add some storytelling feel. The game also has a co-op variant, where your goal is to defeat the big bad without worrying about victory points. The Shadow deck builds faster in this version, so defeat is a real possibility. Dark Gothic is a great entry by Flying Frog into the deck-building world with their own unique flavor you expect from their games. It's set in the Revolutionary era, just like their other popular A Touch of Evil series of games, so it reminds me a lot of the Sleepy Hollow TV show, which I enjoy immensely. Thank you for joining me for this review of Dark Gothic from Flying Frog Productions. Let me know if you found this review helpful by leaving me a comment or sending me an email at elliot_miller@voiceofe.com. Make sure to subscribe to the Voice of E channel on YouTube, as I'll have plenty of gaming, entertainment, and comic book coverage this year. It should be a lot of fun. Thanks again, and until next time, keep your mind free. Was that good, Master?
Get me that 6. We need more power.